Hey, what's up guys? In this video we're going to talk about some of the best practices in JavaScript that we can follow so that we can have better code maintainability, we can improve the performance, so the performance can be optimized, we can have better security in our code, and the scalability of the code increases, and we can have better code reusability. So we can achieve all of that by applying some of the best practices in our JavaScript code. So let's talk about them one by one. So first of all, we should avoid using global variables and we should increase the use of local variables, because the global variables and functions can be overwritten by any scripts. So if we use local variable instead, this will prevent any kind of name collisions that can be there, and also it will save memory. So like an example, here we have one function. We should always avoid using global variables. We should always use that as a local variable. So this way we can have the same result, but it will prevent any kind of name collision, and also it will save memory because the scope of this local variable is within this function. So whenever the function finished execution, then the local variable memory will be freed up. So it is better practice to use local variables instead of creating any global variables. And also whenever we are creating any kind of variables, we should always declare them at the top. Like an example, we can create another variable y. So this way we can create multiple variables, and the best practice suggests that we should always declare all of our variables at the top of our code. This way our code will be a lot more cleaner because we have this declaration section, and after that we have the real code. And also whenever we wanted to make any changes to our variables and we wanted to declare any more variables, so all of that can be done. So we have to look at the one place which is at the top of our function declaration. And also because all of our declaration is at the top, so this will reduce the possibility of any unwanted redeclaration of the variables. And also best practice suggests that we should always declare and initialize variables at the top. So we cannot just only declare them because this variable will have the value undefined, so the undefined values can crash our code. And also because we are declaring and initializing all the values at the same place, so it will be a lot easier to make changes to these variables whenever we want, because all of them are declared and initialized at the single place which is at the top of the function. And we should always declare objects and arrays with the const keyword. Like an example, if we create one object with the let keyword, so here we have one object and we have created that with the let keyword. And if we just check the type of object, so you can see it is showing object. But if we accidentally assign some string to the object, now you can see the type changed to string. So whenever we declare our object using the let keyword, so there is possibility that we can accidentally change the type of our object. So that's why it is a good practice to declare our objects with the const keyword, and this way it will make sure that there will not be any kind of accidental changes to our objects. And the similar thing applies to the arrays also. So we should always declare arrays with the const keyword. This way there will not be any kind of change in the type of array and the objects. And next we should always avoid using the object type, and instead we should use the primitive types. Like an example, if we wanted to create one string, so we should not use new string, so this will create one string object. So in JavaScript we should avoid using the object type. Instead we should always use the primitive type. Like an example, whenever creating string, we should use the single or double quote to create the string. Similar with the numbers also. So if we creating any number, we should not be using the new number. Instead we should use the primitive type, so directly assign any number to the variable. The reason behind this is that whenever we are creating our variable with the object type, that will reduce the performance of our code. So we should always avoid using the object type, and instead we should use the primitive types. And whenever we are comparing, we should always use the strict equality operator instead of the double equal, because the double equal operator only checks the value and not the type. So here you can see 10 number and 10 string both are showing true as output, but if we use strict equal operator, it not only checks the value but also the type of the value. That's why you can see we are getting false as output. So just to be on the safe side, we should always consider using the strict equal instead of the double equal operator. And also we should always use default parameter while declaring functions. Like an example, we have one function xyz. This takes one parameter a. Now inside the function we are just simply console logging a, and at the function call we are just passing the value as 10. So you can see we are getting the output as 10, but suppose accidentally we forget to pass the argument, then you can see we are getting the output as undefined. So the missing argument can break the code because we have the value as undefined. So it's a good habit to have a default parameter. So we can pass one default parameter, so whenever there is no value passed, so we should have the value as 10. So you can see even though we are not passing any parameter, still we are getting the output, so the code will not crash. So this is a good practice to always use the default parameters in our function. And lastly but not least, we should always avoid using the eval function. So the eval function will basically execute any JavaScript passed in as a string. So here the eval function is executing the console log, so that's why we are getting the output as code. So we should avoid using the eval function because it allows to execute any arbitrary code, so which is not a good practice, which is a security problem. So we should always avoid using the eval function to execute any JavaScript. So these are some of the best practices that we should follow to have better maintainability, better performance, better security, better scalability, and also our code will be reusable. So hope you understand the concept. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.